Hello again, it's James here and welcome. So I wanted to talk to you today about your dating plan. Too many of us plan for our finances and we plan for a raise at work or we plan for our diet and our nutrition, but no one really plans for their love life. And by that I mean actually writing down on a whiteboard or with a pen and paper the kind of man that you want to end up with, the kind of relationship that you want to have, the kind of love life that you dream about. So we have to get it out of your mind from this dream and onto a whiteboard or onto a piece of paper. And when you do that, it just sends this powerful frequency out into the universe. And that man that you're imagining, that man that you're dreaming of, somehow just finds his way into your life. Now, I want to give you an example of when a woman came into my life as a result of me writing this down. So behind me I've got a whiteboard. It's called Your Dating Plan, and I've got who, what, and when. And I'm going to explain that to you in just a second. But about 6 months ago, I did this exercise and I wrote down on a whiteboard, not dissimilar to this, the qualities that I look for in my ideal woman, in a mate, if you like. And I'm going to show you, I'm just going to bring this up. I've got a photo of the whiteboard that I wrote, and I'm going to show you what I wrote down. These are the attributes or the qualities that I look for, that I was looking for in a woman. So here it is. I wrote it down. I said, dream woman, has traveled abroad, positive energy, reliable, punctual, caring, generous, loving family, beautiful, elegant, professional, sexy, X factor, 25 plus. That means age 25 and above. So the power of this was huge. I wrote it down, I took a photo of it, I stuck it as my screensaver in my phone. That way, like at least a dozen times a day, I was looking at the list. Every time I turned my iPhone on, bang, there was the list. And I just look over it again. Beautiful, caring, generous, travels abroad, 25 plus, X factor, that kind of stuff. And it was just continued to send this message into my brain that was who I was looking for. What happened, you're asking, right? Well, 2 weeks later, that exact woman walked into my life. Beautiful woman, 37 years old, from another country, had traveled abroad, great relationship with her family, generous, caring, wonderful. Everything that I had written down on that board. Now, it happened for me in 2 weeks, which is super fast. It may not happen that quickly for you, or it may not happen that quickly for anyone else for that matter. For me, it happened in 2 weeks. So the power of this actually works, okay? So don't just be sitting there dreaming of this. Who is he? What does he look like? Actually write it down, because when you write it down, it's so much more powerful. So let's just do a little example here, okay? So for your dating plan, who? So with the who, you want to explain literally what are his physical features and what are his attributes. So who might be tall, as an example. It could be handsome. You might really want someone who's athletic. Maybe you want someone who is generous. Okay? Maybe someone who works with a charity. It could be a man who earns more than $100,000 a year, or it might be a man who earns $1 million plus a year. It might be someone who is self-employed. Do you remember that movie? This reminds me, that movie, There's Something About Mary, and Cameron Diaz's character who plays Mary is like, oh, I just want a man who runs his own business, like an architect or something. And Kevin Dillon's, was it Kevin Dillon? I'm not sure, I've forgotten the guy's name. It was definitely a Dillon. Well, the actor, knowing that Mary wanted the architect, pretends to be the architect. Anyway, I'm just using the example of Cameron Diaz's character putting that out into the universe, imagining a specific type of man. So, self-sufficient, my writing's not very good here, you'll have to excuse me. Self-sufficient. So in other words, it might be someone who runs his own business. It could be a CEO, it could be a loving person, a kind person. Again, these are all attributes that you may be looking for in a man. Good relationship with his mother, maybe, if that's important to you. Good relationship with mother. Maybe lives within 5 miles of you. Or might just be lives within the same town. Might be someone who likes to travel. Might be someone who likes great food, so you can call him a foodie. Maybe it's someone who's into spirituality, if you're into spirituality, so you put spirituality here. Now again, you can see I've got a mess of a handwriting here, but you get the idea, right? Be as specific as you can. It's not enough to just say, oh, I want a handsome man. Well, what does handsome mean to you? Again, is it, here I use the example, tall, okay? So handsome might be brown hair, or it might be blue eyes, or it might be blonde hair. Be as specific as you can and write it down. Again, it doesn't need to be a whiteboard. It can actually be put it in your notepad or a journal. As long as you write it down, it's not enough to type it down. You actually need your hand and your wrist to write these words down. There is so much power in that. 10 times more powerful than if you just imagine it or if you type it down, okay? So handwriting, whether it's in a notepad or whether it's on a whiteboard. All right, so what will happen if you only do this is that you will start noticing these types of guys. Whereas before you might have been saying to yourself, there are no good guys around, where are all the guys, I can't find them. All of a sudden, these guys, tall, handsome, athletic, generous, charitable, earns $1 million plus, self-sufficient, lives within 5 miles, loves to travel, they will start turning up everywhere. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be a perfect match with every one of these guys that you meet, but they will just start turning up. I remember recently I was looking at buying a car here in Los Angeles, and I was flirting with the idea of buying a Toyota Prius. It's a hybrid car, and the only reason that I thought about buying this Toyota Prius was because my friend had a Prius, and she gave me a ride one day, and I didn't know what a Prius was. I didn't even know that it was a hybrid car. But then as soon as I got in that car and I started asking her questions about it, every single day that I was on the road thereafter, I kept seeing Toyota Priuses everywhere. It's like, there's a Prius, there's a Prius, there's a Prius, there's a Prius, there's a Prius. But for the previous 5 years, I never even saw a Prius. I mean, obviously I'd seen them, but I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't looking at the word Prius emblazoned on the car. You know, I didn't know that it was a Prius. The same thing, the same concept works here. If you start thinking and writing down tall, handsome, athletic, generous, million plus, good relationship, kind, this man will just come into your life. You'll start noticing these men. You might go into a Starbucks, and whereas before you just focused on walking in there and getting your coffee and walking out, this time you'll walk in there and go, wow, look at that. There's a tall, handsome, strong man, athletic man, whereas before maybe you didn't notice him. So it does work, okay? Take it from me because I did it and I imagined this woman and she came walking into my life. All right, so what to do next? You've got your who, now you're moving on to your what. So what means, what are you going to do other than just thinking and writing this down to meet this particular man, okay? What is your plan? And again, you've got to write it down. So I'm just gonna, let's move the what over here a little bit because I've run out of space. Let's go here and here. What? So your what? Let's move over this way, in fact. How are you going to meet this guy? So this is where you literally brainstorm. This is like, how am I going to meet this guy? So an example might be, ask 3 girlfriends for a referral. So think of 3 girlfriends that you know single guys and say to them, hey, do you know any single guys that you might be able to set me up with? Another one might be, where do guys go? So what am I going to do? Where do guys go? All right, so maybe they go to a gym, or they do a spinning class, or they do yoga or something. So it might be, I'm going to join an exercise group. Where else do these kind of guys hang out? Well, maybe they hang out at some kind of club, like a country club or a tennis club or a golf club, especially if you're looking for like a wealthier guy or someone who earns probably more than $1 million a month, $1 million a year, rather. Those guys hang out in clubs and entrepreneurial groups. When do they have social functions? Where do they do it? Again, it might be simply asking your girlfriends, do you know any guys who are in those clubs? So it might be ask to go to a social function of a club. The other thing might be church. Do a lot of guys go to church? Does this guy go to church? If he doesn't, then obviously you wouldn't worry about going to church. But do you know people who go to church? If you've got girlfriends, why don't you ask them and literally ask them, are they cute guys that go to church with you on a Sunday? And if the answer is yes, start going to church. The other thing is art shows. I've just started going to art shows here in Los Angeles, and trust me, I wasn't an art fan up until about a month ago, but I started going and started to sort of understand art a little bit more. And I'm realizing just how many amazing women go to art shows. And there's a whole lot of guys there as well, amazing guys. Again, when you're there in an event like an art show, it's a lot easier to strike up a conversation than it is in, say, like a bar or a nightclub or something like that. Because you're there, you're talking about the art, everyone's walking around, they're drinking champagne, they're mingling. You're all there for a shared purpose. So it's easier to strike up a conversation and say, hey, what do you think of this painting? Or, oh yeah, what do you think of this? Again, same kind of thing. Wine tasting, okay? So what are you gonna do? Maybe you start researching online wine tasting nights. Where is one in your area? Where can I find one? Who do I know who's a winey? Who can, I'm not sure if that's a word, winey. Who do I know who loves wine? Maybe they can introduce me to a whole bunch of people who they socialize with in their circle. And so forth, and so forth, and so forth. Another thing might be to, just like if you're going for a coffee in a Starbucks, maybe it's strike up a conversation with a man in line at Starbucks. Even if you're not interested in him, just get into the act of speaking to men. Again, you don't want to set forth the wrong idea to the man if you're not interested in him, but even as just a very platonic, very safe kind of conversation while you're waiting in line to get your coffee, or while you're waiting in line at the supermarket, it just gives you that confidence to be able to be open to strangers, to just a random man that you meet in the street. That way, when you see a man that you genuinely do like, maybe it's not that big a deal to, again, just strike up a conversation. You got to really get into that practice. So the other thing might be grocery shopping. So grocery shopping, maybe it's you simply, when you go off grocery, you say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to try and strike up a conversation with the man in the grocery store. Or I'm going to not just look for the food to buy in the grocery store, but I'm actually going to keep my eyes open for any men who are shopping by themselves there, and then maybe just walk over in their direction, or smile at them, or ask them a question about where there's food in a particular aisle. Whatever it is, this is all part of your plan, okay? Too many of my women clients are all like believing this Hollywood fate story where some man's just going to come up to them and approach them and they're going to live happily ever after. And while that does happen, it's very rare. There is a strategy to it. You have to put yourself in a position to be able to be noticed by men. These are just some examples of you writing down your what. What are you going to do? Okay. Now, some of these may not suit your particular situation. Some of them may, maybe none of them do, but just get into the habit of writing down your what. What are you going to do? You've got your who. Who is he? You're looking at this every day. It's in your phone. You're focusing on it. You're imagining it. Then you've got your what. What are you now going to do in order to meet this man? Okay, like what? So here are a few ideas. That brings us to when. When are you going to do your what? Well, my answer to that is today, right now. But I know that you've got a busy life and you've got work and you've got commitments and all that kind of things. The idea is that you have to commit to a time, okay? So for example, your when. Ask 3 girlfriends for a referral. Maybe you say to yourself, I will ask 3 girlfriends every week by Friday for 1 referral, okay? So you might say when? Friday, 3 referrals. Friday times 3 for this one. And you draw a little arrow. So then you have to hold yourself accountable to that. You have to say to yourself, well, it's Thursday, I haven't asked my friends yet. I got to call 3 of them right now and hope that they get back to me by tomorrow. Otherwise, I haven't completed my when. You have to get into that mentality of actually putting a deadline, like a false deadline, if you like, to inspire you to take the action. Okay. Again, be really specific. Don't just say ask girlfriends for a referral. Say ask 3 girlfriends for a referral. Don't just say ask 3 girlfriends for a referral sometime in the next week. Say ask 3 girlfriends for a referral by Friday or by Monday or by Tuesday or whatever day that you choose. Again, be specific. It holds you accountable. Join an exercise group. Okay, maybe it takes you a little while. You've got to go and talk to inspect 3 gyms. Maybe one of them's further drive away from your house than you'd like. Maybe you can go to one near your work. Do the research. So you might say to yourself, I will research 3 gyms and make sure that there are plenty of men that go there and plenty of men in those group classes by Monday the 3rd, for example, or Monday the 5th or 20th or whatever. Again, when are you going to join this exercise group? Hold yourself accountable. Give yourself a deadline and then make sure you meet that deadline. Ask to go to a social function or a club. It might be posting an ad on Facebook and say, hey, does anyone know any men that are in a tennis club or a golf club, etc., etc., just to try and inspire a conversation. You don't even have to tell them why. You don't have to say, oh, because I'm looking to meet men to date. You just put it out there, be vague about the reason or don't even give a reason and just watch the people come back to you. Go, oh yeah, my friend Peter, he's in a tennis club down the road on here or whatever. And all of a sudden you've got, oh, okay, there's a lead. Then you will research that club and you will find out which kind of guys go there. Can you go there? Is it only for men? Is there like an area where you can go there for women? Are there women's classes there? Do they have mixes where the women and men get together once a month? This kind of stuff. Again, researching a club, give yourself a deadline. Art shows. Okay, so pick up a local magazine like a Time Out or find out, or just Google whatever city you're living in, type in art shows, find out the itinerary or the schedule, if you like, of art shows, and then commit to visiting 1 art show a week or 1 art show every 2 weeks. And again, give yourself a when. When are you going to do that by? Same with wine tasting, same with groceries. So if you go grocery shopping once a week, let's just say it's a Monday night, give yourself that. Give yourself that deadline rather, which is I will go grocery shopping, not just to buy the groceries, but to actually look for men 1 time a week, every single Monday. Again, it's the when. It's putting the strategy in place. You do it for your finances when you're saving money. You'll say every month when I get paid or when I get my money, I'm going to put this aside in my paycheck. Why not do it in your dating plan? You know, do the same thing. Every Monday, I will go to the grocery shop and I will look for men, or I will strike up a conversation in the grocery line, or I will join 1 new wine tasting group per week, or I will attend 1 function per week to do with wine tasting, or I will join an exercise group and I will attend the joint sort of male and female group exercise classes at least twice a week. But again, give yourself a deadline. I'll keep saying it over and over and over again, because when you just say, oh yeah, I'm going to do that, more often than not, you just don't do it. But if you give yourself a specific date, then that inspires you to take action and inspires you to get those things done. Another trick that I found is that if you want to be held accountable and you want to really make sure that you do some of this plan this time, get a friend and say to your friend, listen, if I don't go to an art show opening, or if I don't talk to a man, or if I don't join a wine tasting group by a certain date, I have to pay you a penalty, like $50 or $100. And type it out and stick it on her Facebook if you like, or just send her an email and say, hey, listen, I want to be held accountable for this. If I don't do this by this date, I'm going to have to pay you a penalty. The threat of that penalty will inspire you to take action. Trust me, I've done this with some guy friends of mine before, and I don't want to pay the $100 fine, so I just move heaven and earth to do whatever it is that I'm wanting to do. So again, let's go over it one last time. This is your dating plan. All right, we've got the who. So write down your who. Who is the man that you're looking for? Be specific. Brown hair, black hair, blonde hair, blue eyes. likes to travel? Is he a foodie? Is he spiritual? Does he love his mother? Does he earn $1 million plus? Whatever it is for you, whatever it is that you're looking for, write it down, write it in a notepad, put it on a whiteboard, and then look at it every day. I like to save it on my phone and just look at it in my screensaver and imagine it, and you will be amazed. You'll be amazed at how many of those events start like just appearing, almost like out of thin air. Whereas before there was no one, now all of a sudden after you've done this dating plan, they're everywhere. The what. What are you going to do to meet the who? Ask 3 girlfriends for a referral. Join an exercise group. Ask to go to a social function of a club, church, art shows, wine tasting, groceries. Again, to you this may be an appalling list, okay? I don't know your circumstances, but get into that habit of asking yourself the what and writing it down. And don't just do it in yourself, like with yourself. Ask your girlfriends, hey, what do you think? Where is a good place to meet guys? Who doesn't want to talk about that, you know? Another one here might be like a sports bar on a Sunday if it's football season, if that's the kind of guy you're after. If your kind of guy is athletic, sporty type, where does the athletic, sporty type hang out? Well, I guarantee he's probably watching football on a Sunday afternoon in football season. It could be going to a baseball game, it could be anything to do with sport. Anyway, you get the idea. And then the when. Hold yourself accountable by giving yourself a deadline. When are you going to do these actions? When are you going to do these actions by, or you're going to have to pay a penalty that will hold you accountable. So there you go. There's 3 ways: your who, your what, and your when for your dating plan. Make sure you write it down. Make sure you put it on a whiteboard. Just get into that practice. And I'm sure, 100% sure, that the man that you want to date, the man of your dreams, the man that you want to meet is just around the corner for you. All right, I'll catch you next time.